Hi, everybody. It's Karen Anderson here with Aortichope for our week in review. And I'm so excited because we've got lots of guests with us here today. We've got Tammy and Terry and Martha and Melissa, and who knows who else is going to just be popping into this call. But just to set the stage for you, I can't see anybody else that you see on this screen. I'm going to have that fixed hopefully by the next time, so I'm not looking off in all different wild directions. But we are here just to have fun with this, and the purpose of the Week in Review is to hopefully capture some more people that are not part of the Facebook realm and allow other people to start receiving support like everybody else does that happens to be in Facebook or other social media avenues. So this is really a way for us to share with you some of the articles that we thought were really important as an organization to share with the community, whether you have been touched by aortic disease or not. A lot of this stuff really can transition into many different worlds. But before we do anything, you must like, wherever it is, because I can't see, like and subscribe. Subscribe and hit the little bell so that you get a ding every time that we go live and we're sharing things so you can participate in what we're doing. So hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
I'll speak.
Hello.
Hello.
And we're actually kicking this off on Wednesday because let's talk about, last week we talked about pump head, and here's a perfect example. We did a post, which of course I don't remember. It was about thoracic aneurysms and lists that the Society of Thoracic Surgeons provided for the community. And I posted it 2 weeks in a row. Thought it looked familiar, couldn't remember where I remember reading it because I just did it 7 days. So we're not going to review that one again. Instead, we're going to switch right into Wisdom Wednesday. And this Wisdom Wednesday post, when I get my cursor back up here, was really about when your symptoms are ignored or misdiagnosed. And this happens, unfortunately, quite often. And many of the aortic dissection survivors in the community were really lucky enough to get a chance to go to the hospital where emergency physicians recognized their symptoms or connected the dots when hearing about their family medical history and ordered a life-saving CT scan. But unfortunately, as we know, there are many community members who had a very different experience. In fact, some spent hours in the waiting room and of the emergency room, and others, they were actually sent home, told that they might have pulled their back or they had reflux. But the worst stories come from the patients that know their family history and can clearly articulate that, and they're still sent home without a CT scan. So what we did is we talked to community members about sharing their symptoms and their experiences that they had in the ER with the medical community in hopes of teaching emergency physicians to think aorta and order that life-saving CT scan. And so we're just going to talk about a couple of them here, and then we're just going to talk about our own experiences, because I don't know all of you if you've had this experience or not. I know one did, but I don't know if all of you did, but let's see if they resonate. One of the community members said that he felt like he was on fire from the inside out and had nonstop nausea and vomiting. And the hospital staff actually ordered an EKG thinking he was having a heart attack. And then when they realized he wasn't, they put him right back in the emergency room again. So anybody relate to that at all? Start with Tammy.
Well, you know my story, but I'll tell it. I was in my 12th week of chemo for breast cancer, and was eating breakfast and felt like I had something stuck in my throat right around my collarbone. But then when the backs of my legs went numb, I knew something really bad was wrong. The ambulance was called. I went to University of Maryland Hospital, our local one, and I was told that I was having esophageal spasms from the chemo and to go on to chemo. I asked, at that time, I did ask for an echo. They checked my heart was fine. And I said, well, I'm in the middle of chemo, and they told me the chemo could hurt it can be harmful. Could I have an echocardiogram? And they said, no, we cannot do that. Protocol says we have to admit you in order to do an echo, and we have no reason to admit you. We spoke to your oncologist. You had an echocardiogram 12 weeks ago. You were absolutely fine. It's here, drink this cocktail and go to chemo, which I did. Everybody told me I just needed to push through. It was the 12th week of chemo. I wasn't expected to feel good. Did a 90-minute yoga class the next day. And 8 days later, then I was in bed, couldn't breathe, my back hurt. We called doctors over and over again. Finally, that next Tuesday, I had a routine echocardiogram because it had been 3 months. And then that's where they found that I was dissected from one carotid artery down through both legs. So obviously I had emergency surgery within hours of that. But I was very lucky. I know how lucky I am. I did speak to one of the places I was sent afterwards was a vascular surgeon to follow me. And he told me that he did speak to whoever the powers are at University of Maryland and is trying to get the protocols changed. And I'm hoping that that's happening, but I was really happy that at least one doctor was paying attention. And then that's when I found Aortic Hope about a year into my journey. I'm about 2.5 years in, about a year in my journey. And then when I also became very aware of Think Aorta, and I've been working with Think Aorta to make a difference in those emergency rooms. So I'm interested in hearing other people's stories.
I'm going to share 2 more, and then we'll go to the next person to see if they've had any kind of similar experiences, whether with this or being dismissed for anything. So Prashant said, I heard a pop and drove myself to the hospital. And his left leg was numb by the time he got there, really didn't have too much pain in his chest, slightly dizzy. Told the hospital his father passed at age 30 and that his grandfather passed at age 56. And he believed that he was having a stroke or a heart attack. They did an EKG and said he was fine and that he sprained his leg and chest and sent him home. And this is after sharing that you had 2 losses at early ages. And I'm assuming that they didn't know the reasons why. So that just, every time I read these, when we get to this time of the year and this post pops up, I find it aggravates me. Nate said intense shooting pain down his back. Also was having discomfort in his left leg and was having difficulty walking. They ended up sending him home with pleurisy. It was a very small hospital, so he doesn't believe that they even had a CT or had an MRI machine, but finally had a simple chest x-ray, which showed an enlarged aorta, which then led eventually to a CT. So Terry, did you have any experiences like this?
I did. So this is actually, I've had 2 dissections. The first one, I was in so much pain and I got to the ambulance, or I called an ambulance. They were easily able to find out what it was. It was my type B dissection. The second time, which was this August, I actually felt pain through my chest and my neck and up to my ears. Had no clue that it was going to be a dissection. I didn't even think of it because the other one was 10 years ago. So I went to, silly me, went to patient first. Luckily, the doctor there, they did take a chest x-ray and he saw something, but he wouldn't tell me what it was. I mean, he said something medical that I may not have known. And he's like, you need to go to the emergency room. And they offered transport. I said, no, it's fine. I'll just take myself. So I went to one of our hospitals here, GBMC, which is not a heart hospital. But again, I didn't think it was my heart or my aorta. They did all the heart stuff. They let me sit in the waiting room probably for 3 hours.
Oh
It was like midnight, 1 o'clock. I was exhausted. One of the doctors finally came out to the waiting room, not back there, not in the back. And she's like, we don't have a room for you, but, or we're not, she didn't say we have a room. She said, we're not ready to take you yet. And we would like to, she wanted to, run through my history. So I ran through my history, explained that I had a dissection 10 years ago, but I felt this pain and I didn't know what it was. And this is the truth. She was sitting, like bending down, checking my ankles and my legs to see if I had fluid retaining. And all of a sudden I just felt it go pop. And I was screaming and I was in pain because I didn't think it was a dissection. I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't know what it was. Well, it took that to happen and me screaming for them to get the gurney. And I do remember her saying, you're going to be fine. And she said to the CAT scan, whoever's in the CAT scan, get her in first. And by that time, we knew that it was a dissection. As a matter of fact, not funny, I mean, none of this is funny, but in a way it was funny. my husband was able to finally come up to the hospital when this happened. I was by myself the whole time. We were actually reading my chart, and we knew it was a dissection before the doctor even came in and told us, because it was right there on my chart. Yeah, and then about a half hour later, she came in. We're like, yeah, we know it's a dissection. And unfortunately, at that time, they called every hospital in the area. They called Washington, they called Philadelphia, they called Delaware. Luckily, University of Maryland was able to take me, because the hospitals are just overcrowded with COVID. Even in August, that
Yeah.
I was able to get to University of Maryland, they were willing to take me, and immediately had open heart surgery. It was probably 6 a.m. the next day I finally had the surgery.
I think what I find crazy about that, but not even so much anymore, is it's this misnomer that if you've had an aortic issue, that you have this golden Wonka ticket, that when you go to the ER, you're just going to automatically go back. I will say that in the beginning, after my dissection, which was diagnosed perfectly, every time I would go back, because I had various pains, I did go right back. That doesn't happen anymore. And I don't know if it's just because we're in the world of COVID, or if it's just that, I don't know, I went too many times. I'm not sure, but I don't have the golden ticket. Like, I'll tell people I'm in discomfort, I had a dissection, and they'll say, you're just going to have to wait. So,
And even when I went to the emergency room, they classified it as chest pains, and they did the heart attack protocol. You would think
yeah,
that was when you say you have chest pains and they do all the heart attack, blood draws and everything, they would take you right back. But no, 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours sitting there waiting.
it's amazing.
Thank goodness I'm here, though.
Absolutely. I'm going to read a couple more, and then we're going to go on and hear if Martha or Melissa had some similar situations. Okay, so Anthony said he had leg pain, and as they turned blue, he pooped all over himself. He went to the bathroom. I didn't want to read the word. I got stuck right there. Sweating incoherently, combative hyperventilation, shock. They put him in a room for observation, and his wife was told that maybe they thought he had a bad ham sandwich. He went back the next day, and then the echo was found. And then they did an echo, and they found his dissection. Well, and there you go. Another community member said that her hubby had sharp pain very high between the shoulder blades and under his throat. This seems to be a common theme. And then very cold hands and feet, sort of mental spaciness, and then some urinary incontinence, syncope, episode with vomiting, a lot of projectile vomiting in the ER. And when she became a lot more forceful upon her insistence that these symptoms were odd and seemed to be almost like organ failure, that led to a heart enzyme test, again, checking to see if he was having a heart attack. One level was slightly elevated, which led to a lung embolism test, which was 200 times elevated. And then finally, they did a CT, which again takes less than 5 minutes to do. And then everything else happened as far as his surgery. So it is amazing that I guess I just kind of want to know what the holdup is. It's a 5-minute test. You don't even have to have your clothes taken off to have a CT scan like you do all the preparation for an echo or even an EKG. I would venture to say that if they put me in a CT machine and I had an IV and you're going to set up somebody for an echo, I'm done way before the person with the echo. So it's frustrating. Martha, did you have any experiences similar to this where maybe you were sent home or you were kind of put to the side for a few hours?
Yeah,
Or any loved one?
I felt as though my throat had disappeared, as though there was a floor and it had gone. And I was in Vancouver at the time and had a lot of pain, so I took a lot of Tylenol. I think I supported Tylenol very well. Then I flew back to where we live in Ontario and felt really bad. So just went to bed again, a lot of pain meds and headache meds and so forth. And got up the next day thinking I have the flu and went to the couch and passed out, stopped breathing. My heart stopped beating. And that was a good thing because when I got to ER via the ambulance, they knew that there was something that had to be followed through on. But it took a while, and didn't really have any sort of diagnostics done until one of the doctors came, and he had been trained with handheld echo, and that's when they knew that it was a dissection, and was taken to another hospital for surgery, ruptured on the table. And so all in all, it was, once it had begun to really happen, the follow through was pretty good. But at one point, they were saying, "Oh, maybe just go home and for observation, just, let's monitor it." And then the doctor came along with the hand, and that's just good fortune. And thank goodness. But I have found that there is not a lot of understanding about what dissection is, and how it manifests, and the consequences. I really feel as though we are traveling in this uncharted territory. Yeah, so.
Well, what's interesting is when you look up aortic dissection, the first word that is attributed to this is rare. And aortic dissection isn't the disease in itself. That's the byproduct. That's the end result of not being followed, or possibly having blunt force trauma, or because of drug-related incident. But if you just look at it from the aortic disease standpoint, whether you know you have a connective tissue disorder or not, that's the end result of not being followed.
Yeah.
And that in itself is rare. So maybe a hospital might see 50, a heart hospital, one with a center, might get 50 patients that have had a dissection because they're following them. But aortic aneurysms, it is much more common than you think. And part of what aortichope does in supporting Think Aorta is we're always struggling with trying to get not the aortic disease centers, but the ERs of the hospitals that transfer, the primary care physicians, the urgent centers. We're trying to get them to think aorta more often than they have been in the past, and realize that getting family history is critical. Knowing your own family history, knowing if anybody before you had had aneurysms or inflammatory diseases, which we're going to get to an article about that soon too, if any of these things existed, because that could lead to aneurysms, which hopefully not, would lead to a dissection. So it's just this big circle. And when you start to think about it, there's so much work that's still left to be done. And it's just educating. It's just education and awareness. But it sounds like your symptoms, you were the hospital in the sense that you put your symptoms to the side for yourself, because you probably had no reason to think that it was anything.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no reason that I would think that.
Right. But you're here, and it all worked out the best way possible.
Yes.
It's interesting to me because I had the same experience with Terry and Martha. Both of you said that there wasn't a doctor available, like, to actually do the surgery at that time. And I had the same thing. I was at a small hospital that was part of University of Maryland. I left one and went to another, the chemo, and I had the same experience. The only doctor in the building that could perform that type of surgery had just come out of an 8-hour surgery. And I think there's something just like with truckers, that they're not allowed to go into another surgery after. So they actually put me in, just like the rest of you, they put me in a room and said I was stable. And took me he went home and slept, or went somewhere and slept, and then we started. So Melissa, I'd be interested to hear if you had somebody that was available immediately.
Let me go ahead and read these three, and then we'll hear Melissa's story.
Okay.
So Karen says she had no pain. She just passed out, and the emergency room thought she had actually overdosed or was having a stroke. And I think a lot of emergency rooms,
Over-
their first questions are, were you taking cocaine or were you in an abusive relationship? Because depending on age, they just don't understand why it happens. Her dissection was eventually found when the nurse suggested her aorta should be looked at. And an interesting story with Karen is once she had her event, her siblings, 2 of the 3 were looked at, and both of those 2, they ended up having aneurysms and have since had surgery. Annette said her family doctor sent her home with a diagnosis of a strained shoulder and a stomach bug. And she ended up calling 911 an hour later when her entire torso felt like it was electrified. And then finally, Rhonda had said her husband sat dying in the hospital for 3 days trying to figure out what was going on before they went in and fixed his valve and then discovered that his actual problem. His other 5 family members did not survive their aortic dissection, so it sounds like they may have passed before him. 13 years later, it was discovered that they had the ACTA2 gene, and it does run in their family. And that ACTA2 gene was only discovered in like the last 2 decades by Dr. Milowitz. So very interesting situations. Everyone similar and yet very different. Melissa, do you have a similar story?
I can kind of hit both the ones you read. I've had both of those. I've had multiple tears. But the first one that I had with my upstairs, I thought I had just pulled a muscle. I was moving the bird bath and thought for sure that, being a old athlete, that it was a muscle. So I was going to go to jazzercise a little bit early and stretch it on a ball, and walked in, and the lady that had just recently, like within the last few weeks, bought jazzercise, had worked for the blood drive place. I forget the people that take blood for the world, for the
Red Cross.
Yes. And I guess I went in kind of mumbling and very pale, and she knew I was in shock. And she had me sit down, and then I wanted to lay down, and she wouldn't let me, but they called 911, and they got me to the hospital. And sure enough, my ascending was being held by like a thread and a blood clot. And they got me to KU Med, I guess. I don't remember anything after that. I guess it took a few weeks before they even could do surgery because I was so bad, to get me stable enough. But I was there like 6 weeks. I got home for a few weeks, and then the bottom, I got up to do something, and I had my daughter call because the whole bottom half of me went cold, but yet went numb. It scared me enough that I like dropped my coffee, and that was my descending. And it's a weird feeling when my downstairs went, but yeah, I've had several surgeries around that area, but I've never been, all I have to say, in fact, the ambulance guys know me. Lawrence Memorial hears my name and sends me right to KU Med Center. We have a wonderful facility. 45 minutes away from me. Wonderful cardiothoracic team there. And Lawrence, yeah, they don't want me. So they will quickly do that CT and get me out, just so they have the test to get me out. So I've been very blessed.
And that's the way we want that standard level of care, right? The golden standard level of care. And it sounds like you got that despite having multiple dissections.
And I always hear that, oh, you're kind of like Abraham Lincoln. They all kind of, yeah, they like it for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing. Did I get everybody? Everybody that's here, right? Remember, I can't see.
Did Joel come?
I got everybody. Tammy, Terry, Martha, Melissa. Okay,
Yes.
we're good to
Yes.
go. We're moving on. We're moving on to Therapeutic Thursday, which we had a couple things, I think, on that day. So Therapeutic Thursday. This was an interesting article, and I'll pull up the article even though we won't go over the whole thing. So this was about hypertension, and most of the aortic community has had an issue with hypertension or high blood pressure. However, not too sure how many of us have actually heard of secondary hypertension. And verywellhealth.com explains in an article titled Assessing Your Risk of Secondary Hypertension, written by Dr. Angela Ryan Lee, that, and I quote, secondary hypertension is actually high blood pressure that is caused by another condition. And several problems that affect the kidneys, endocrine system, and blood vessels can cause secondary hypertension. High blood pressure in a young person, that is very sudden or severe, can indicate secondary hypertension. And the article actually discusses the causes, evaluation, and treatment of secondary hypertension. How many of you guys have actually heard of secondary hypertension? Because I definitely had not.
I have, just because of the job that I had. I worked with young pregnant women, and that can happen at the end of the pregnancy sometimes.
So I think it says here that it actually can be suspected if you have other hypertension that's not controlled by medication, or there's an underlying cause, or if it's diagnosed at a younger age. And then we go through what actually high blood pressure is, which I'm going to assume we all know what high blood pressure is. And actually, it's going to be a little different for different people. But here's all the different types of causes for secondary hypertension. One is renovascular hypertension, and would be established, I guess, in the renal arteries, and they come from the aorta, and they basically feed the kidneys. And so if those arteries on their own become a little obstructed, then you can end up having secondary hypertension. And any hypertension can impact your aorta. So this is what blew my mind away about this article. And it's interesting because my son, who's younger, 22, has hypertension, and they did check to see if it was stemming from his renal arteries, which only right now am I putting two and two together and realizing they're thinking a secondary cause. But you could also have buildup of cholesterol or plaque in your arteries, and this can be caused from high cholesterol, smoking, or diabetes. They also have other issues would be fibromuscular dysplasia. That's another cause of obstructed blood vessels to the kidneys. And then, of course, kidney disease could cause secondary hypertension. Oh, this is going to be fun. Maybe I can't even play it. Big word. Hyperaldosteronism. Yep, you guys make that into a meme. Okay, so there's a hormone that's actually made by the adrenal glands that plays a role in sodium and fluid retention. And my guess is the way it's explaining here is you can have overactive cells or possibly even a tumor, and that causes your kidneys to hold on to some salt. So looks like there's a lot that could do with the kidneys that can cause secondary hypertension, but also obstructive sleep apnea. And my son was tested for that as well. So sleep apnea can cause secondary forms of hypertension. So there's a lot of things here. Thyroid disorders can cause it. I am not even about to try to attempt to pronounce that word right there because my brain has just decided it's going to shut down. So there's a lot of different things. This is a great article, and I'm just curious to know of the rest of the group. Tammy, Martha, Melissa, any of you diagnosed with secondary hypertension, or have you even heard about it? Start with Martha.
I have not. This is new to me.
I was sitting here raising my hand. Forgot you can't see us.
Go ahead, Terry.
We see you, Terry.
I'm sorry, Martha. Did you have more to say?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
No, I had never heard of secondary hypertension, but the interesting thing is that long before my first dissection, I actually went to an endocrinologist, and she did all those tests on my kidney function and renal function because I was diagnosed with high blood pressure at 28. I'm only 30 now. No, I'm just kidding. But she did all of those things to see why I was having high blood pressure. Of course, at that point, there was nothing. They couldn't figure out what it was, and I just stayed on medication. The other big one is the sleep apnea. I have sleep apnea. I use the CPAP machine every night, have been for 2 years. Again, so why does this happen? Maybe I have secondary hypertension. I don't know. But it's just interesting that this article, I was tested for the renal disease. I have sleep apnea. I wear a CPAP machine every night.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now my blood pressure is really low, which is good.
And so what I love about these articles that we post, which is, on average 2 to 3 times a week, is it gets you thinking. And if it even creates a moment of question for you to say to your doctor, hey, I was reading this article about secondary hypertension. That doesn't mean your doctor's not thinking of it. Really, what it just shows your doctor is that you are, and you're a proactive patient. And I've not found a doctor really who's been annoyed at that, though there are some that exist. But I don't think that it's a reason not to bring it up if you think that it may live within you. Melissa, any experience or thought about secondary hypertension?
Yeah, I don't have the first one. Sorry, I'm having a bad cognitive day. But
Okay.
I lost my left kidney because I have Marfan's for the other people that haven't been on with me before. Just the closure with my tissue, but they watch because of my thyroid cancer too. I get my kidney checked every month, but they've talked about. I've heard the phrase before,
Okay.
but I didn't know what it meant until you've explained it better than they did. They've never explained it. They just said it.
Well, I just made it look like I explained it because I just read an article and make it sound like it came out of my mind, which it did not. Or I would have been able to pronounce the words better. But no, that makes sense to me. Having Marfan, if you're already potentially having issues with your kidney, thyroid cancer, that could all be cause for possible secondary hypertension, which may just mean that could be trickier to treat, or it's just something else for them to be made aware of. So again, these articles are never to be used as a way for us to diagnose ourselves. Of course, they're just perfect to start a conversation, but it sounds like you've already heard this floated around in your medical experiences anyway. All right, we're moving on. This is a hot off the press. And I brought it up because it was my cardiologist and Tammy's also. But this was an article from, and I can't remember what the journal, I think it's the Journal of American Cardiology College. And it was written by 2 doctors, one including Dr. Fisher. See how I did that? And it was actually called Heritable Flna genetic mutation in a patient with thoracic aortic aneurysm. And this is the best summary that I could pull out for layman's terms, even though I will say they wrote a great article in a way that anybody could understand it. But this is actually believed to be the first documented case of the Flna gene mutation and related aneurysm in a patient that had lupus. And just so that you know, lupus is an inflammatory disease. So then this is what's a question is, did the lupus come first, or did this gene that creates issues with aneurysms then produce the lupus? So very interesting. But in this case, genetic screening for our patient led to detection of a thoracic aortic aneurysm in her mother. This case builds a strong argument for a universal approach to genetic screening of patients with aneurysms, including those with alternative explanations for etiology and further screening of their family members. Recognition may lead to prevention of complications and better serve patients and their family members with appropriate screening and precautionary measures. So if you get a chance to check out the article, it is very interesting. Again, kind of links us all to, and I'm noticing now the article is not linked here, but we'll get that in here. It's just interesting to see these things coming out about genes and other diseases that may have been in existence in your body. And then the question, of course, is before or after they discover your aneurysm. So if this applies to you, definitely something you want to check out. We're going to move on real quick to, this is so exciting. and we're going to talk about this, the Rock from the Heart Symposium and Concert event. Now they're having two. The first one, I believe, is the weekend of the 11th in February. That is in North Dakota. That just sounded really cold to me. Plus, I've seen Night Ranger, and I was not invited to that one. Just sounds cold in February, right? North Dakota. Anything with the word north is probably cold, except Carolina. So this one is actually on the weekend of the February 25th, and aortichope, as well as aortic bridge and Think Aorta are all going to be in attendance, and the registration is open. And this is their fourth event. And what happens is on Friday, there is this awesome symposium with a lot of incredible speakers like myself and Dr. Ben Udelman. No, actually, in all seriousness, you're going to have surgeons, vascular surgeons, survivors. I think she may have a therapist. I don't remember the entire lineup, but it's a great lineup of speakers talking to the patients and caregivers in a way that we can easily understand the information. There is a cocktail reception and dinner that immediately follows this. It's a great chance for people to meet. In order to be in attendance in person, you must have your COVID vaccines, your card, and your license, and you must be masked other than during the dinner. And then on Saturday in the evening, there is the concert. And this year we're going to be having the concert with Grand Funk Railroad, which means I got to pull out an 8-track tape player because not quite sure. My husband knows them. I know 2 songs. I'm pretty sure I probably know a lot more than just We're an American Band and Locomotion. I think those are the 2 that I know.
You know one more than I do, because all I knew was American Band.
You know Locomotion. It was a remake.
Locomotion.
I'm sure I do. I'm sure I'll know more when I hear them.
I don't know why they remade it, but it's kind of funny that a rock band remade it. But I think they remade it, right? They didn't originate that.
I would think not.
I think they remade it from like the 50s or something.
They had to remake, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, so let's talk a little bit about the speaker. If you're not familiar with Dr. Udelman, he is the co-director of the Maimonides Aortic Center. And Dr. Udelman, who is just wonderful, is a cardiac surgeon who specializes in endovascular and aortic surgery, performs all types of cardiac surgery, and he is the co-director of the Aortic Center in Brooklyn, New York, and the chief of vascular surgery with the chief of vascular surgery, Dr. Ree. And together they have a practice that is a coordinated approach to the entire aorta. A lot of times what you'll hear in the community is if you're a thoracic, you have the thoracic surgeon, and if something happens in the abdominal area or in the descending, then they call on the vascular team. In his hospital, as well as a few others, it's a very coordinated, collaborative approach. And they also bring in the patient and the family with this approach. Multidisciplinary meetings review all options for aortic surgery, and the right operation at the right time on the right patient ensures the best outcomes. Dr. Udelman actually established Aortic Bridge, which is now a nonprofit. It's a support group in New York City for patients with aortic disease. It's a grassroots organization. They always met in a brick and mortar location in the hospital and have been unable to do so since COVID. But then he joined with the national organization, aortichope, and which we conduct our monthly support group meetings with patients all over the country. And now his patients all are part of our community as well. An annual evaluation of the incidence of post-traumatic stress disorder in the aortic community is conducted through our help and coordination, and it's reported to psychiatrists and surgeons for a better understanding on how to help patients with aortic disease help us cope with the stress of the diagnosis. Think Aorta, which was an international campaign to raise awareness about aortic disease, was brought to the U.S. I know he writes here through the efforts of me, but it was a collaborative event. And myself, Dr. Udelman, and an entire board of individuals, we've worked together with others to establish this as now as a nonprofit charity in the United States. And as I mentioned before, Think Aorta US, we focus on the final common pathway of all of the syndromes, genes, and strong family histories, basically the aorta itself. Dr. Udelman is helping Think Aorta to expand into more countries, and he believes it will save lives of patients with aortic disease more than anything else that anybody has ever seen. And he's also completed his many years of training as a heart surgeon with a fellowship at the Hospital of University of Pennsylvania in endovascular and aortic surgery. He spends his very rare free time playing piano and guitar. Yes, he's in a little bit of a rock band, and he hangs out with his wife and his 3 kids in New Jersey, and also enjoys skiing. I know this about him as well. So that's Ben. I am not going to read through my entire bio. What I will tell you about myself being there is I did survive type A residual type B dissection in 2015. I'm rapidly approaching my 7-year aortiversary, which is going to be on Saturday. And really very quickly early on, I realized that there was something missing in the aortic community. I saw a lot of Facebook pages, but I never had the opportunity to be comforted and felt supported by another individual who survived, nor did my family members of individuals who were caregivers. And I came together with 2 other women. We created the organization, and it has just blown up and become globally recognized as the catcher's mitt. So our best lane is to be here to kind of capture everybody, whether they're grieving the loss of a loved one, whether they're a caregiver or currently a patient or survivor. Think aorta is proactive, we are reactive. And there's other stuff in here about me seeing Phantom of the Opera 13 times that we don't need to talk about. But that's just some of my
One of my daughter's favorite.
No, it's truly my favorite. And I have a funny story to tell you about that.
I was wondering if you're going to tell a story.
You knew I was going to tell a story before we're getting close to wrapping up our posts, but to tell you how much I love it. Okay, so there was a post that went around on Facebook the other day, as they do, a woman who is selling skincare products. Oh, here's the before, and oh my God, look at the after. And so I went to look her up, and I saw that one of the places she worked was at Phantom of the Opera. And in my answer online, I said something cryptic to Betsy, one of our other board members. I said, did you see where she works? The best place in the world. Well, the woman who was selling it wrote me a private message and asked me if I had any questions. I said, really only one. Tell me about what you did with Phantom of the Opera, because I'm crazy. And she said, oh, I was Kristin Daye's understudy. Well,
and you were like,
okay, yes, I'm typing and I'm talking to myself in my office like, oh my God, I'm talking to Kristin Daye. I can't separate reality.
The human from the actor.
I was losing my mind. So I go on and tell her how much I love this musical. And please don't ever get caught up in that it's a job. If you love the theater, it could be transformative for the people in the audience. And I kept telling her, I promise you, I'm not like a crazy cat lady. I just very passionate. And for whatever reason, of all of the musicals I've seen, this one has touched me, and it just rocked my world, changed me as a person. And then she sends me a picture of herself in the costume, which,
oh my gosh.
No.
It gets better. It gets better.
She sends me a voice clip of her singing just a line of All I Ask of You. And I am sitting here now. I've been through a lot. Goosebumps. All my mascara was down my face. I was crying, like making sound crying by myself. Like, this woman's an angel. Her voice is murder. I said, I'm crying. Oh my God, your voice is so beautiful. And then she sends me a 13-minute clip of the opening, Act 1, Scene 2 of the music. And they were in Germany. So it's like in German. So I have archive that. I will save that. I will save it everywhere, because I can't believe I just got a personal recording of like 7 seconds from Kristin Daye's understudy. I don't care. I told her, Kristin, you can ask me anything, anytime. If I can make it happen, I'll make it happen. So that was my Phantom of the Opera story.
My daughter, yeah, every time it comes, like we have Starlight is where they play it in Kansas City, this big place. And the first time they rebuilt Starlight, that was the first thing they played there, because it was like this huge place for it, and it was perfect for all the running and up and downs. And my daughter just got accepted to Cambridge College, which is one of Cambridge's universities.
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks. So it's Cambridge University's little place in New York. It's in Chelsea.
Yes.
So she's just got an apartment Times Square.
Oh,
wow.
In the theater district. In the theater district.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And she's like, Mom, I'm saving everything I have. So I've made her pay me $50. She graduated Columbia College in 2020. And she's been home because she was one of those COVID graduates.
Mm-hmm.
But I made her pay me $50 a month. It's just the two of us.
Yeah.
So I've kept that money, put it in like the jar in my room. She doesn't know it.
I did the same
Not
thing.
knowing she was going to be moving to Times Square, but she's like, I've got to save money somehow. I've got to figure out how I'm going to do this because I want to go there. I want to see it. So when she moves, I want to give her that money so she can see it while she's there.
That's so great.
Because she just got an apartment there. She's only there from April 1st to August 31st because it's only a 2-month. She'll get an ESL while she's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cambridge will pay for her to go teach ESL anywhere she wants in the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because of
amazing.
all her English credits. So yeah, she's excited. But I was like, that's the only reason you took that, isn't it? Because you want to go see Phantom of the Opera.
Well, I saw it in California my first time. I've seen it in DC, Maryland, New York. I mean, it got so bad that if I played the music, I'd pull the car over and just order tickets and just hop a bus and go back up to New York. And then I got to see London.
If she's planning on going, Karen, I'll have to let you know and you can meet her there.
I would love that. I would love that. Anytime to go into New York and see a show. It's New York. It's wonderful. Okay. So let me see if I can. I just did something here on my screen. What am I doing? Something. I'm trying to click to the final one here. Now I can't see where I'm going.
While you're doing that, Karen, I do want to say, you were saying if a doctor doesn't listen to you to change doctors. And I did that. I'm really happy that I changed my doctor. I would take articles in like the ones that you just showed and say, can you tell me if I am part of this? Should I be concerned about this? Is this anything to do with me? And I remember one time I said, what does this mean? And his answer was, it means you read too much and you need to just listen to me.
Ooh.
And
Wow.
I felt like that was a really nice way of saying shut up. So I hung around for a little while longer, and then I found Dr. Stacy Fisher, and I'm very happy. So don't ever feel bad about, I stuck around way too long because I felt bad and I felt obligated to this person who was, saving my life with his medication. But I got over that real quick. So I just hope that nobody's doing that, staying with a doctor because they feel obligated.
I did.
I feel like my doctor, I joke that my doctor's staying with me. I've had 30 surgeries. Well, I've had 30 surgeries and I'm at KU Med like more than I'm in her office.
So you can attest to how important that is.
Yeah. And so, I mean, literally whatever I ask for and whatever test I ask for, she just says, oh, okay. Or like I'm doing pain management up there now. And they just send her everything.
And that's how it should be. And my first experience wasn't that.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry. It's funny that you say that because it is so true. My primary care physician that I was going to, I called, this is the honest truth, I called 2 weeks before and I said, my blood pressure is higher than it should be. I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. I've lost 10 pounds. I'm eating right. My blood pressure is not right. It should not be high. And it wasn't high, but it was higher than it was for me. And when I called, the nurse answered. The doctor happened to be standing there. They're like, oh, you're fine. You can just come back in September. 2 weeks, which was when my appointment wasn't scheduled. 2 weeks later was my dissection. And needless to say, I have now dismissed her, and
Yes.
I am going to another primary care physician. It is a concierge doctor, and he is worth every penny extra that I'm paying him. He has done tests on me. He did the carotid arteries. He's done so much that no one has ever done in my 53 years.
Right.
So it's definitely, you have to ask, and I know Karen has said it many times, you have to be your own advocate. And you have to understand before you go to these doctors.
Yep. I'm just going to quickly ask, am I back on reporter mode because I hit a button?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm good. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to our final post that came in for the week, and that was our Swag Sunday. Now, before that, if you guys get a chance to check out the survivor story that went up on Saturday. It's pretty inspirational as well. So that is on our website as well as on Facebook too, because I think this one was written format. All right, so this was some pictures I saw that were sent to me in the community, which was awesome. Somebody's got the shirt on, they've got their coffee mug, and I wanted everybody to know that there's still time that you can pick up some of your swag. Don't delay, buy today, grab some swag and start a conversation about aortic disease. You can still enjoy $10 off of your purchase by going to our shop through Teespring, and you just need to use the code HOPE2022, and that's $10 off of anything you purchase until the end of January. And one day we're going to have a thing where we're going to just be on here probably like a ladies' night, and we can just all just show our stuff.
Yes. That's what it's
fantastic.
We need to have like a hot cocoa. Well, it's still cold here at least.
Yes.
It is. Yeah, it's great. Every day I come home and there's another package.
Please.
I just had a thing saying that my long sleeve, I ordered a long sleeve pink one now. My new pink one should be on its way now.
So
yeah, I just realized last night there's more to come that I forgot.
I cleaned out my closet, and now I have a whole section of just, this is one of them too. This is with our ribbon. And then on the back of my shirt, it says, really large aortichope. And I think purple's my color. I have so many purple shirts, and then I've got reds and blues, and I've got a couple greens in there as well. But yes, I have realized that I still have another package coming to me too. I got into a very big LuLaRoe thing. And so I have now swapped off of that, and now I'm into pocketbooks. I have a pocketbook shopping problem, but this is the last one. I've recognized it. I sat in my closet, and then I thought each of these leggings at $25 a pop that I'm, now I've moved on to a different thing. I don't want to get into things anymore. So my last package for now is arriving.
I know. I got into the nail, the color. I've gotten really
Color
bad.
Street.
Yes.
Yes, I have brought some with me.
Yeah.
I have a bunch. If you guys are into that, I've got a bunch.
I do too. My daughter went to get a pair of socks out of my drawer, and she's like, "Why do you have 50 envelopes in your drawer?" And I was like, "What?" She was like, "What are all those envelopes? You have like 2 rows of envelopes."
She thought you were hiding something from her, huh?
Oh, they've been envelopes, honey. They're nails.
Before we go, I want to talk about, we had that amazing live event to start off our year of live Q&As with Dr. Kristin Watson. Did you guys get a chance to attend or check it out after?
I was attending.
Was that your lady?
Yeah, so Kristin, she's wonderful. She's a doctor of pharmacy. I always said pharmacology. I thought it sounded really great the way I said it, but again, I made that up. Doctor of pharmacy. She's with the Veterans Affairs, but she was with University of Maryland, and she breaks down all of the medications that any of us could take at any given time, from ACE receptors or ACE inhibitors to calcium channel blockers, diuretics, beta blockers. And even though I've heard this a few times from her now, and I've seen the presentation, which is saved under our resources, every time I learn something new. And she really explains to you what this classification does and why losartan is an important drug, or any of the TANs, because of the way of keeping the vessels spongy, and why it's different than a beta blocker. One does heart rate, one does blood pressure. So if you have not had a chance to check that out, I highly encourage you. That must be an animal. I highly encourage you. Definitely check out her PowerPoint presentation. As I said, it's under resources.
When she would make a remark about, "Oh my gosh, my face froze. I can't believe how my face just froze."
Yeah, that's, that stuff happens, but you still could hear the information, which is what was most important.
I know. It was I just thought it was
She's so funny. She is so funny. I remember the very first time I ever interviewed her, this is back when we would do this stuff in person, and they put on some additional medication to me, and I was dying. I was sitting there, and she was talking, and I was trying to stay actively engaged. It was late. It was at the end of the day. It was dark out. I was trying not to fall asleep. Not that it wasn't interesting, but I was really started asking her questions about the medications I was on. Hey, look, it's selfish. If I got these doctors, I like to ask them questions about myself on the Ask a Doctor event all the time. I sneak stuff in. I just, I love having free opinions that I can take back to my doctors, and that makes me happy.
The bad boy.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Well, ladies, we still have a lot of exciting stuff coming up over the month of February, and all of those dates are going to be announced soon. And I am so excited that you had a chance to join us.
I have a question with the
Sure.
February going up north. Well, it's going up north for me.
Symposium.
Yeah. It's a 2-day thing.
It's a Friday. It starts in the afternoon, and then the concert Saturday night.
But Saturday night's only the concert. There's not information on Saturday.
No, actually, when we go, we're actually getting in late on a Thursday night so that we can be ready just to set up Friday. And we're all going to visit Paisley Park on Saturday. A lot of people for their first time, me for the fourth, because I love Prince. But we're all going to go check out his house and then just.
I know that's what I told you. Did you see I said you need to get a fake, one of those, or even a henna tattoo of Prince.
I have T-shirts and posts. Every time I've gone, I come back with. So it's because it's at the end and you're so excited after all the amazing things that you
I dated
saw.
a guy in college and he was from Minnesota and we went to Prince. I don't know if he still has, but there was a bar, one of the original bars
in Paisley. Oh,
yeah.
What do you mean? Where he performed?
A bar that he actually opened back when he first, like one of his big first investments.
Oh, I don't know. I know that he started off playing at Fifth Ave. But I don't know.
Maybe that's the one he bought or something.
I'm all about, when I'm there, I am all about it. And I am, yes. I again, can't separate human beings and celebrities. It's a very big problem. But yeah. So we're excited. We're looking forward to going. I'm looking forward to seeing who else in the community is able to go. And I'm looking to see where the collaboration, this is the year of community collaboration, where it's going to go for aortichope with Rock from the Heart. We are strongly in support of their efforts. I think that their way of educating and bringing a community together is very unique. It is a lane of its own. And who doesn't want to come together over music? So
Karen,
fun.
do you think the speakers, will the speakers be recorded that we can post that?
Oh yeah, so you can attend virtually, and I believe it is all recorded. So when you go in to register, it's free to attend virtually, and I'm sure you can get back in and see those videos secondhand. Was there another question or comment? I can't see you. Remember?
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask, but I could ask you. I was just going to see the hotel you guys are staying at.
We're staying at the Lowe's in Minnesota, the Lowe's.
Okay, just in case I drive up.
Oh, yeah. If it's driving distance, come on up.
Yeah. I think it's like 7 hours from me.
Fly. Get on the plane. Fly. Take a train.
Check out Southwest.
I know, but with my upright walker, it's such a pain in the butt to fly.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be like a balmy 28. So that's pretty darn good. The last time we were there, I think we hopped in a cab. We told the guy where we wanted to go. He said, you do realize it's like 3 blocks. I said, I am not walking in like -18. You guys
that's
are crazy.
Just it. It's the snow. I mean, we're in snow, and we're still having tornadoes around here. I don't know if you know that.
That's crazy. Where are you from again?
Kansas.
Right. Well, you're in Oz, so yes, it's going to always have tornadoes.
We're either having snow or blizzards or tornadoes.
It's crazy. That is crazy. It's been brutally cold. We're in Maryland, and it's I was actually I took a picture. I was in my hot tub the other day.
Yes, I saw your cute little toes.
I really look like my toes never grew. I think it's a deformity, but they are really tiny. I was in the hot tub and it was on low. And then I went to scratch something on my shoulder, but I couldn't feel it. So I realized, wow, like I'm freezing in the 20-some degrees. Like my skin really, I felt nothing. And so I put it on high And then the moisture kept my skin from freezing. My towel was crinkly. It was crunchy because the mist went over to the towel and froze. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I
get one of those party tents and put it over it.
I would love to. I was thinking, don't they make something that, so I won't drown, that's got holes, but could go over top of it? Then in the summer, I don't have to worry about spiders and mosquitoes.
One of those party tents, they're not expensive.
Oh, you mean like the ones on 4 legs to put over it?
Yep.
Yeah, I could do that.
Cheap.
I could do that. Then it blocks out the sun.
I have Social Security disability, income. I think cheap.
Yeah, me too. But I need the sun. I need whatever little bit of sun I get in the summertime. In the summer, I take the temperature down. I float on my little floaty, and it becomes my very, very, very small pool.
Oh, you're so cute.
That's what I use it as. Yeah. No, I do. I put on a floaty. I put my yacht rock radio from Sirius on, and I fall asleep in like 2 seconds. Out. I love it.
I just lay by my bird bath in the chair.
Well, that's one way too. Then you could put your foot in, and you feel like you're in your own pool. Put your foot in, tip your toe.
We have to all watch a movie. Okay, the ladies, we need to all put our 2 bits in for a movie and Zoom and watch a movie or something one night.
Oh, you mean like the people that are on TV that do like 90 Day Fiance, but they sit back and then they watch it and they talk about it live. You watch each other's reactions.
Because we don't all watch This Is Us.
Pillow talk.
Who doesn't watch This Is Us? Are you kidding me? It's the final season.
No,
this is already
I had to get off last time. We were getting ready to talk This Is Us, and I had to get off and go to the doctor.
No talking. We will not talk.
Josh is like, this is when I leave.
Yep. No talks of that. New Amsterdam. What we got to keep it all.
New
right
Amsterdam
now,
when they showed up and gave hugs.
Oh yeah, no. And but right now, I have to tell you, I am all about Ozarks. I think I have one more.
Started
episode.
the new season yet.
Yeah, my husband and I have the last one of part 1 of this final season. We have 1 episode left, and then we have to just sit and wait until part 2 comes out, and then
I haven't even started. I wanted to wait till it all comes out because it'll drive me crazy.
Yeah, it is so good. It's so good. And then it'll be time for
Handmaid's Tale. The thing on Netflix, the paranormals. It's something 81.
Oh, I don't know what that is. You're gonna have to find out and message me.
Oh, I just watched all of them.
Listen,
they're in this old hotel that's haunted. I think there's cult in it. That an old cult lived in it.
I do not know, but I'm seeing a theme for a night that we need to just talk about shows on Netflix and just share. Bring like our own top 10 list.
See, and I have to write things down. With my cognitive impairment, I'm a mess.
I've got a notepad sitting right here by
Monday.
me.
That's my name. Messy Monday, Melissa.
I love it. That sounds great. All right, everybody. Thank you again so much for joining. It was a pleasure to have all of you. This was so much fun. And now I'm hoping by next week, I'll be able to see everybody. So don't make any faces behind my back because I'll watch it on replay and I'll catch you.
Oh, I forget you're not even there.
I'm not. Yeah, it's like I'm not even here. But to everybody that is watching, please, and to everybody that's on board here, like the video, make some comments, subscribe, please. This really does enable.
The other night when we had your doctor on,
mm-hmm.
I know a couple of us said it multiple times. There was like 24 people on and like 6 likes. So now I understand why you were saying that a couple weeks ago. I don't understand how it's so hard for someone to hit like.
It's very easy. You just hit it.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
I understand why you get so frustrated with that. Why?
It happens. It happens. But the more we talk about it, the easier it'll become for people to hit that like, make your comment, share it would be even better, and subscribe. So to everybody that is having a chance to watch this after the fact or during, please.
I shared it to my mother and she sent back, sorry, I do not open Messenger copy things from YouTube. And I was like, oh my gosh.
That's crazy. Hey, Martha, nice to have you on with us. Hope to have you here with us again. Wonderful. Thank you for contributing. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Terry. Love the haircut. We will see you all regularly scheduled time next Monday. at
Okay.
3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for joining.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.